Welcome back to Asia Pickleball Insider. I'm your host, Rob Nunnery. Without my co-host and my Asian brother, Migo Claudio, this week, he is in KL, actually, where I just got back from. So we will resume things next week together. But today, consistency is important, especially with podcasts. We're going to come to you every week, no matter what, whether it's just me, whether it's just Migo. Ideally, it's both of us because you want to see both of us. But this week, just me. So do want to come to you and give you a recap of the PPA Malaysia that just happened in Kuala Lumpur, as well as move directly over to the PPA Vietnam, which is happening in Da Nang this week. Actually, right now, today, quali started, and tomorrow the main draw will start. So exciting times in Asia Pickleball because you got two big PPA tournaments. And I'll tell you right now, the atmosphere in Kuala Lumpur at the PPA was just electric. I mean, fandom in Asia is not the same. I mean, it's like a bum rush on court. Like they're like rushing to get autographs after you play. Just as a player, that's what you love. Well, one, they did a good job because this championship court was really tight to the court. So it felt like fans were reasonably close to court, which is always better as a player because you want to feel the fans kind of like right on top of you as part of the action. Just environment-wise, it's just so fun. And it's also fun for the fans to be that close to the action. Could have been a little tighter, I think, but all things considered, really, really well done. And I will say, especially with that many people in a championship court, it turns into a little furnace in there, and it got very hot, very humid, pretty uncomfortable for most people. I had some issues, I think, I've talked plenty about on my newsletter as well as my socials. So if you want to learn more about kind of my experience in the match in the quarterfinals against Ben and Alshan, which we lost in 3 games, you can go there. But a lot to manage with my ostomy now in terms of fluid retention as well as nutrient retention. It's a work in progress. I'm trying to figure it out. But those conditions are just very, very tough for people like me and that have Crohn's disease and an ostomy. Part of my new reality, and I got to figure out a way to try to get through that. And whether that's getting just IVs and fluids in me pre and post, maybe that's the solve. I don't know. But I do know we played indoors the round before in the AC at the convention center, and I felt like I could have played literally all day. So that's just a tale of 2 days, 2 different environments and how it affects me. But again, props to PPA Malaysia, PPA Asia. Really well done on the event. I thought it was just phenomenal, fantastic. I prefer not to have 2 different venues with, one being AC and very different environments with the ball playing very differently as well. But look, I'm not going to sit here and complain about it because I thought you guys did a phenomenal job. And I think it really just shows the growth of pickleball in Asia and Malaysia and where, not just where it currently is, but where it can go. I mean, we're talking early days right now, and the fandom is out of this world. And it's a stark contrast to what we see in the U.S., because in the U.S., people in the stands, they're excited, but they more so love playing. And they just came from their amateur match, and they're filling in the stands because they want to watch, they are fans. They want to watch high-level pickleball. But it's not like this. Not like this. This was like, can I get close to you? Can I have your sweaty wristband? Will you sign this paddle? Messages I got on social after the match, like people reaching out, like it's different over here. And I urge any of you American players that want to feel kind of like that energy and excitement around you playing, get out here. It's fun. It's different. And it's just, to me, it's a testament of where pickleball can go in Asia and why Asia Pickleball is the future of pro pickleball, in my opinion. Okay, so again, quick recap of Malaysia today. We'll do a little bit of a preview of Vietnam. I'll give you some personal updates on what's going on in my life. I'm back here in Manila, and then we will do this all again next week with a more built out episode with myself and Migo, recapping kind of both stops of Vietnam as well as Malaysia, and then also previewing what's to come for the rest of the year. So Malaysia recap. I want to start off talking about 2 players that really impressed me. One, on the men's side, Jack Wong, was able to play a couple rec games with him on the same side of the net against Arman and Zayn Navratil, and I was impressed. He hasn't been playing that long, maybe 18 months, but he's still raw, still things to learn. Ability-wise, he's there. He's got the shots. He's got the quickness, the hand speed, plays smart, really just was impressed and thought he's a good player, and he's only going to get better, especially especially getting exposure in events like he's getting right now. And, with PPA players from the States coming over, this is what these players need over here. And man, going into, looking back at last week's episode, how do we feel like Asia players will do? Very well. I mean, you had Kwon Do and his partner take Ben and Alshon in the round of 16 to 11-8 in the third. You had Vanchik and myself go, we won the first game, then lost in, lopsided game 2, but a relatively tight game 3, 11-4, with a questionable call at 6-4. I'll say that. Ben called it in, Alshon called it out. I don't know. Ref basically wasn't awake or there, as it typically goes. But good testament to the level over here, right? To see that, a fully Asian team could take the world number one to 3 games, and a tight 3 games where they got pretty fortunate to get through that one. They handled Zane and Armand pretty easily, but then dropped the final to Tyson McGuffin and Eric Onsens, who came very last minute. Eric came literally got notified 2 days before the tournament that he was going to be needed out here, and got on a flight and got out here. But big props to them. Eric plays with a lot of energy. It's always fun to watch him play. Fun to watch, especially him play here with the crowd engagement. And obviously Tyson, got to have the utmost respect for him, the consummate professional who is also a crowd favorite and goes about his business and is just one of the biggest characters in the sport. So big props to them on getting a well-deserved gold medal and big win in KL. And especially when everybody's wanting to see Ben play, and it's like Ben got taken to the edge in men's, obviously, and pretty much all his matches. So, mixed is a different beast, different level in mixed. And I really thought, leading to my next player to watch, which is, in my opinion, Danni Townsend from Australia. First time I really got time to watch her play and play with her on the same side of the net, as well as doing some drilling with her, light drilling, and just testing some hands. And, I can tell a lot basically just dinking straight on from somebody and then throwing some speed ups at them. To me, that's it's my favorite barometer. I remember doing that to Megan Fudge really early on, maybe 2023. And where I usually would catch people, she's caught, I got her, but she's also able to get a paddle on it and reset it back into the kitchen without looking foolish the first time around. Same with Danni Townsend. Except I would say she's got elite hands. She's got really fast hands. Comes from table tennis. Great frame in terms of size and wingspan and reach, and also mentality. Just believes she can beat anybody, believes she can win. Confident player. I was really impressed with her game. I think we're going to see some really, really great things from her moving forward. Her and Nicholas Schumann, a fellow Ramp Sports athlete, had a huge upset, probably upset of the tournament, in my opinion, beating Anna Bright and Rose Van Riek. I would have put them as the easy favorites going into the event in terms of being favored to win the gold, to win the whole title. Danni and Nicola beat them 6-3 or something super routine. It wasn't super competitive. And to do that, especially to Anna Bright, who I would put in top 3 on the female side in the world, is something. No easy feat. Big props to Big Jack Wong and Danni Townsend. I think, just keep an eye on them. Good names to watch out for. And big props to Kaitlyn Christian. Exceeded my expectations. Gold in women's singles, gold in women's doubles, and a silver in mixed doubles, which is an unreal weekend for her. I would not have put her in the medal stand probably on each of the events, but probably not. I would have had her probably winning singles. I would not have had her winning women's doubles, and I probably would not have had her getting silver either in mixed. Mixed is just tough. So many good teams and so many good guys too. So and the women's field was tough and deep. Yeah, but big props to Kaitlyn on a great weekend. We'll see. The fun part is going to be seeing how all of these teams kind of roll over into Vietnam, which is starting today and for qualies. But we have Ben is not playing with Christian this go round. Ben is playing with Deco Bar, who did not join us in Malaysia, but is playing in Vietnam. So that'll be an interesting pairing. Obviously, business partners, good friends, and it will be interesting to see how they play together because they have not played together in a very long time. And so a little bit of an interesting scenario there. And Deckel's very good on the right. He obviously has the build and the frame to play a really, really big left, but I honestly think when his game is just simplified to, like where you're not overthinking and you're not trying to do too much, and you got really simple goals on the right side of being a rock, making a lot of balls, having great hands, great counters, not being able to be attacked too well or too easily. And then also having good speed ups, which Deckel's very slippery from the right. So I think on paper should be a great team. You just never know what happens in some of these environments, especially when there's personal connection, personal history. Things can go weird, things can go sideways. I would have thought Ben and Christian would have been a lot stronger. I didn't think they were very good. I didn't think Vanchik and I played very well whatsoever. Like, I don't think I did. I think Vanchik played well. I think I did not play very clean. I left balls up too high. I had a tough time getting to the kitchen, which is one of my strengths. I'd say getting to the kitchen line is I get there at a high clip. And a bit of it was playing with a brand new paddle, great paddle. It's called the Typhoon by Ram Sports. But it was the second day I'd played with it. And it's the first time I've had a paddle that really grabs the ball on my rolls. I usually play tip down on my drops and my dinks. And I noticed that going tip down, and what I mean by tip down is just literally like with the paddle, it's just my tips down and then I'm lifting and coming around it to get spin. And I noticed that with this paddle, it's easier actually if I go horizontal with it because the ball grabs and I'm getting more spin like that. But I didn't really have time to dial in my stroke and change it to where I was really comfortable getting that ball to dip and roll on my drops. So I was leaving them high, struggled to get to the kitchen line, struggled to keep dinks down. I just didn't play very well. Even in game one where we won, I thought I didn't play great. And what was surprising to me was not so much our play, but more so across the net. How this is the first time I've seen them in a while. I think last time I played Christian, I beat him with Andre. But, first time I played Ben in a while. And what stood out to me truly as somebody that has not been able to train very much over the past couple of years, it's more so going to tournaments, showing up, getting some rec games in, trying to drill a little bit at the events, just with all the health stuff, is that I would have expected the level to be better, truly. And I don't say that as like a props to myself. I say that as, this is their full-time job. This is all they do. They wake up, they eat, sleep, breathe, train, pickleball, practice, compete. I would have just expected the level to have increased more than it has based on purely just what I witnessed, which is good news to me because that means I can get my surgery done. I can get back on court, start training like I want to, getting the reps that I want to, moving like I need to and want to as well. And I don't feel like I have that much ground to make up. I feel like I'm right there, which is to me exciting. I know I've got some things stacked against me. I'm 40, but at the same time, without this knee in the state that it is, I feel like I'm quickness-wise, talking about on court. I think you haven't seen it for the past couple of years, but I think I put myself in short, quick bursts. I put myself in the elite category in terms of quickness, truly. And if anybody wants to test that against me, let me get my knee done. Give me 3 months. I'll test quickness with you, even at 40. So obviously I have some things stacked against me. Age isn't on my side necessarily, but I feel like I've got 3, 4, 5 years of really competing at a very high level where my hands are going to be there. I think my hands are going to get faster. I think honestly, with this new paddle tech, I feel like some of the balls I was dipping when I was really letting it rip, I'm going to be able to do some things that I haven't been able to do previously that I'm just really excited to get back on the court and start training, especially knowing that my level's where it is and it's not that big of a gap to where I want to be and where I need to get to. So honestly, this is the most excited I've been about playing in quite a long time and training and getting back to the level. So reason I'm getting my surgery early, I'm getting it Thursday, October 2nd, is that I want to be at full strength come December for the Indian Pro League, as well as the Global Sports big tournament they're putting on. I mean, I think the winners get $25K across all divisions. So big prize money, which is great for the sport, great for India. I mean, think about what that is in India. I mean, we're talking absurd amount of money. And if that's not going to get locals out there training, trying to get good at the sport really quickly, as well as in Asia, I mean, these are the types of prize pools that are going to really make the sport explode and grow it at a really rapid pace in these countries that have absurd populations. So big props to Global Sports on putting up this kind of purse and prize pool, because this is what leads to better lives for your own citizens. It gives hope. It gives opportunity. And it's one of the things that aligned me with Global from very early on is this concept of street cricket, which, you can come from some of the poorest areas in the country, play street cricket and create a better life for not just you, not just for your family, but for your entire village, your entire town. And there's no more inspiring story than that. One of hope from, an underdog that was not born into the circumstances that a lot of other people are born into, myself included. So I really connect with that. And I just want to give a big shout out to Global Sports, because they're doing a good stuff in terms of growing the sport in India, not having exclusive deals, which I think is prohibitor in growing the sport on the pro level as well as the global level. I think open play, transparent stories, growth is the way to do it. And we saw some of the, obviously PPA has exclusive contracts, and I get what they're doing and I understand it. I just don't think it's the best route to go in terms of if your interest is in growing the sport and making pro pickleball a lasting enterprise. I don't know if exclusive contracts are the way to do it. I would say they're not. I would say highlighting all stories, all players, no matter whether they're signed with you or not, is in the best interest of not just the players, but the fans and the sport as a whole. You don't want to feel like you're keeping things from the fans because a player's not signed with the PPA. If it's a great player and they have an unbelievable backstory, and I'm sure there's tons of those players out here that have really inspiring stories that they've come from, you want to highlight those. So, and it kind of goes to my next point about Malaysia, and that is the commentary. I thought the commentary in Malaysia was not good. I believe it was one of two things. One, just negligent as possible, which means that they just did zero research on players. They had zero context to give to fans about players. And, I had a bunch of messages come to me about my match and why didn't they give any context around my health or my history or my, whatever it was. I haven't listened back to it, so I'm not sure. I just got a bunch of messages around it. And to me, that's either, not just mine, but I listened to some of the other matches and it's like, man, they really don't know much about these players. And they do have a schedule the day prior on every match that's going to be on championship court that they're going to commentate on. And how hard is it to pull up some bios online about these players? Not that hard. There's information everywhere about all of the players that played on championship court. And to not know much about them is, like I said, either one, extremely negligent, or two, was a directive by the PPA. And this it has to be one of these options. It was either don't go in depth on players that aren't signed with the PPA. We don't want to highlight their stories, or we don't want to talk about them or highlight them too much. I don't know if it was one or two, negligence or a directive, but to me, it felt like one or the other. And on that note, I played Ben for the first time in a long time. We used to do a podcast together. Freestyle Boys used to be like my little brother. Like, we would travel together, train together, basically be everywhere together if we were going to a tournament, stay at the same Airbnbs, take the same Ubers, rent cars together, yada, 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 yada. I mean, not just that storyline needs to be highlighted, but I found it interesting that Ben is like their golden child, right? So they don't want bad news, bad publicity, bad press around Ben, period. I get that. That makes sense. Why would you? In that respect, any publicity is not good publicity. Not at this point, not for where his career's at and what the PPA is trying to do. So what I found to be interesting is that Connor Pardo, I don't know if what the title is necessarily, as commissioner. He runs the PPA, reports to Tom Dundon, who owns it, but Connor kind of runs it day to day in terms of operations. He made his way to Vietnam. He made his way to Malaysia, and he's also going to Vietnam, I believe. But I believe the first match I saw him was our quarterfinal match, where he chose to, oddly, I was sitting kind of in the player's chair, getting some water down before we were going on court. And I glanced up and he's literally sitting in a chair on court, essentially, at the very back of the court, but he's on court in a chair on my side of the net where we're starting to play, and I glance up and I see him give I see him give Ben like a smug, smirky smile type thing, and Ben returned it. And to me, it was just like, what a weird, what, I don't know, just a weird thing. Okay, here we go, like dealing with Nunnery, or it was just like this weird moment that I caught between the two of them. That was just like, all right, here we go. Let's see what he does. And I don't know if it was like if Connor was sitting on court to kind of like whether it felt like a little bit of like an intimidation factor, like, you better not do anything to my guy or something like that. I don't know. I'm just giving you how it felt, because when I was chasing a ball down towards the back of the court where his chair was, I was like, oh, hey, Connor. I gave him a smile and said, what's up? And he basically didn't really give anything back. It was just like a confused look or something. And yeah, it didn't really give me much. It all felt a little weird and a little odd that the commissioner of the PPA in the States is sitting on court for this match. And it's like, what is this? It just felt weird. That's my only point. But I didn't see him on court for any other match is all I'm saying. So I was a little long-winded, but yeah, I mean, so obviously what I'd like to see is commentators doing some basic research, finding some context, finding some human interest stories, telling those stories. I mean, you don't have to, like, nobody's going to trust what you're saying about strategy, but it certainly didn't seem like there is a whole lot of understanding of strategy or like gameplay analysis. So it feels like the least there could have been was like a really good, deep understanding of players and context and background that you could relay to fans, because that's within your control as commentators. So it just felt like a big missed opportunity for a completely new fan base out here to really get some interesting context around storylines of players. Again, I just think it's bad for growth, bad for engagement. It hurts fans' trust. And whether it was negligence or whether it was gatekeeping, I don't know. But regardless, have to do a better job of telling stories, period. All right, Vietnam preview. Like I said, started today, qualies. I just took a glance at some of the draws. My boy Thomas Yu, Ram Sports, also got through singles qualies pretty straightforward. He qualified. Qualies are big in singles, man. There's a lot of guys. But Vietnam, just as a general note, I thought Malaysia was crazy. I would expect Vietnam to be even more insane. They're playing at an indoor, I think, kind of arena that seats maybe 5-6 grand people, 5,000, 6,000 people. And I think we could be in for, like, we thought fandom was crazy in Malaysia. Pickleball in Vietnam is absurd in terms of how many courts, how many people are playing, how many people are training. I don't know if they love pickleball in terms of viewership like they do in Malaysia, but we're going to find out. So I'm excited to see what the crowds look like. And again, excited to see if the commentators kind of step up their game a little bit and give a bit more context around what's happening on court with the matchups and who's playing who and what this means and why is this important. And yeah, sorry to keep going on about the commentary, but just basic shit, guys. Basic shit. So it looks like the organizers of the Vietnam tournament are looking for world record attendance, which would be pretty dope if they hit that. And if they're going to hit it anywhere, it's going to be here because Vietnam goes big. So headliners, this field, kind of the same suspects as last, but we have Ben, Deckel Bar, Tyson McGuffin, Alshon, Zane Navratil, Kaitlyn Christian, Zoe Wong, Alex Trong. It'll be interesting to see how Phuc Yin. Sorry, Phuc, if I said that wrong. It'll be interesting to see how Phuc does. Great Vietnamese singles player on his home turf. Gonna have big time crowd with him. And what do we do? We're gonna see Quang. We're gonna see QD just trolling the PPA. That'd be funny if he's like with his like mafia, and Bal's wearing like a earpiece with like a tuxedo on as his like bodyguard. It'd be just really fun. But I doubt Quang's gonna be there trolling. But it'll be good to see how the Vietnamese players do in their home event. So that's going to be fun to watch. We're going to see if Tyson and Onsens can do a repeat. They're going to have to go through Ben and Deckel this time. One really fun early round matchup that we're going to see in the round of 16 most likely is Ben and Deckel get a bye, obviously, to the round of 16. We've got the same, as of now, draws can change, and they do change, and they changed a lot last week. But as of now, we have a rematch of their round of 16 from Malaysia, where Kwon Do and his partner took Ben and Aoshan to 11-8 in the third. That rematch is very possible in the round of 16, but this time it'll obviously be Ben and Deckel. So that's one to circle on the draw early on. That should be interesting and should be fun. We've got Thomas Yu, like I said, my fellow Ram sports athlete, partnering up with Santosh. I don't want to butcher your last name, Santosh, but Santosh is a great player. I played him in mixed. They made a great run, him and his partner, Sarah Danni, to the semifinals of Malaysia in mixed, which they came through qualifying and played lights out. Thomas and Santosh will be in the round of 32 playing a qualifying team, but then they'll match up with Jason Taylor and Mitch Hargraves, who Vanchik and I beat pretty handily in the round of 16 in Malaysia. Some other notable matchups. We've got Armand playing with Zayn again. We've got Vanchik playing with Harsh Mehta. Indian pairing. Harsh is a great lefty. Used to play with Armand Bhatia a lot. Vanchik obviously partnered with me last week, and they should be able to do some things for sure. They're going to have a tough, in the round of 32 main draw. They've got I'm going to butcher these Vietnamese names. Giang Trinh and Huang Nam Lee, who I believe made a great run in singles. That could be a round of 16 matchup that could be interesting for the Vietnamese pair playing the Indian pair. We got Jonathan Trong and Lin Yang. That could be matched up with Luke Pham and Leander Lazaro, my fellow Filipino brother here. And then we got Tyson and Eric Onsens at the bottom half of the draw, looking at a potential quarterfinal with Jonathan Trong and Lin Yang, which would be one to circle and a very fun one. Round of 16, we might have some lopsided matches, but I think quarterfinals on in the men's, we're going to have some really, really high-level stuff, and it's going to be fun to watch. In singles, we've got Armand Bhatia, who I would say, just looking through this draw, I don't see no Tyson in this one. Armand, in my eyes, would be the number one seed. The number one seed actually listed in this tournament at the top of the bracket is Eric Onsens. Respectfully, if Armand plays singles, and I think he should play singles this week, I don't think he played in Malaysia. Armand's the favorite in this tournament to win the whole damn thing. The fact that he's got to play a qualifier in the round of 32 and then play the one seed Eric Onsens in the round of 16, that's not a bad thing for Armand. That's a bad thing for Eric, the one seed. So, and honestly, a bad thing for the tournament, because that should not be a round of 16. That should be a final. That should be the final based on everybody I see in the draw. Obviously, I have some very talented Vietnamese players, but easily the 1 and 2 seeds should be Armand and Eric Onsens, and they're gonna meet up in the round of 16 most likely. So a little bit of a bummer on that one, but exciting round of 16 match early on. And women's singles got Kaitlyn Christian, who she's the 1 seed, going against the usual suspects. Some notable names: Yufei Long. That could be a nice quarterfinal with Kaitlyn. Yufei wins a lot of the Asia tournaments over here. We can see how she does. Nicola Schumann, Liz Trueluck, Hannah Blatt, Rose Van Reeks, Sarah Dennehy, Chao Yu Wang. Like a lot of good names, and should be fun to see how women's singles goes. Tyson's playing with Chao Yu Wang. We've got Nicholas Schumann playing with Lucas Pascoe. Danni Townsend, who I mentioned earlier, playing with Zane Navratil. Watch out for them. Got Rose Van Reek playing with Eric Onsens. That'll be a dangerous team. Armand playing with Kaitlyn Christian. Going to be dangerous. Alex and Jonathan Trong going to be dangerous. So no Ben, no Deckel in mixed, which comes up the field a lot. So should have a good battle in mixed as well. And then we got mixed qualies going on today, and men's and women's doubles qualies going on today too. So that is the Vietnam preview. Felt very long-winded, but just an update on my status. So I pulled out of Vietnam. I was supposed to go because I don't know if it's the flu, but I don't feel well still. Had chest x-rays this morning along with blood work to get cleared for my surgery on Thursday with anesthesia. I don't know if they're going to let it happen based on, even when I got the x-rays done this morning, the lab tech was just like, do you have a cough? And I was like, yeah, because that was after she took the x-ray and she could probably see some of the buildup. So we'll see what they say. Hopefully I'm able to get my surgery, but obviously safety first, especially with anesthesia. So goal is to get surgery on Thursday on my knee, be able to come back 6 to 8 weeks full strength and be able to start training and grinding and getting to it. And I'm excited to do that. So going to be really focused on rehab the next 4 weeks or so, doing all the little things, controlling everything I can control, but excited to come back with 2 good legs, man, because it's been entirely too long since I've gotten this dealt with. It originally happened at APP Punta Gorda in 2024. And I felt the pop there. I felt the meniscus tear there very acutely, and have been able to get a cortisone shot, manage through the pain. But more recently, it's been fully mechanically locking up. And that feels very scary when it happens. And it happens basically every time I go play. So it's got to get fixed, even with no pain. I've got no pain. I can walk on it fine. But when I'm starting to do lateral movement and starting to do quick split steps and shifts, just bad things feel like they're going to happen. Excited to get this taken care of. Big apologies to Kaitlyn Dawson, who I was supposed to play men's with in Vietnam, and Mihei Kwan, who I was supposed to play mixed with. They both got replacement partners, thank goodness. But they were both awesome and understanding about health first, and really appreciative to them for 1, playing with me, and 2, also just understanding the situation. So that's where I'm at. I'm excited to have Migo back next week. He's in KL right now for I believe a YOLA conference with his dad, but excited to have him back next week. We'll jump back into some pod picks and show you essentially what we've got on slate for the rest of the year. We also have a newsletter rolling out at asiapickle.com, and that'll be just basically the newsletter version of this, where we talk about the latest news, current events, tournament results, tournament previews, some behind the scenes stories, interviews with different people that are shaping pickleball in Asia, and excited to bring that to you. So sign up at asiapickle.com, throw your email in there, and we'll make sure to get it out to you every Tuesday and Friday is going to be the cadence, with the first one coming Friday here. So make sure to sign up, asiapickle.com. And if you haven't, we'd really appreciate it if you liked, subscribed, shared this podcast with anybody else that might find this interesting of what's happening in the Asia pickleball scene, because this is where you're going to find out the news and the updates week in, week out with myself, Rob Nunnery, as well as my host, Migo Claudio, who will be back next week. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Till next time.